2015. Councilmember Friend, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Mayor Velasquez.
Here.
City Council members Clower. Here. Gomez.
Here.
Friend.
Here.
Luna.
Present.
City Manager Alvera.
Present.
City Attorney Sullivan.
Present.
Chief of Police Westrick. Here. City Clerk Graves.
Thank you. Verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the City Council of the City of Hollister regular meeting of November 2nd, 2015 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on October 27th, 2015 at 3:55 p.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you very much. City Attorney, anything to report out from closed session?
No, Your Honor, there was nothing to report.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have a proclamation for the Key Club. Jim Hart and Elizabeth Paz are here to accept it, I believe. And say a few words. Stand right here. Whereas Key Club International, the world's largest high school service organization with more than 250,000 members in 33 countries, is observing this week of November 2nd through the 7th, 2015 as Key Club Week. And now, therefore, I, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, proclaim November 2nd through the 7th, 2015 as Key Club Week in the City of Hollister, and call upon all our officials and all citizens to congratulate members of this organization on their 25th anniversary and their achievements, and make themselves aware of Key Club, whose members are preparing themselves to be better, responsible citizens as they provide service to our community. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is for you. And you can say a few words.
Okay. Well, just on behalf of Key Club, I'd like to thank the mayor and the Kiwanis organization for always supporting us. So thank you, and we hope that we can keep working for the community as a whole. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move forward with the consent agenda. Are there any items council would like to pull?
I'd like to pull A4.
A3, A9.
A3, A4, and A9? And A5? Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve as amended?
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item A3.
Yeah, so just more of a procedural question than anything. On the De La Rosa claim, it seems pretty straightforward what happened. And I know as a council, it's kind of our process to deny every claim. Where does a claim like this go when it seems like it should be granted straight off, at least from my point of view on reading the summary of the report?
Yeah, these would go to our risk management or our insurance company to adjust to make sure that the estimates and the repairs are actually done. So it's a process where you don't do it. Our risk management pays the bills, and so that's what is necessary to get it to them in order to do, like turn it over to the analogy, your carrier, your insurance, your homeowners.
How long is the process for a simple case like this?
Weeks, days.
Okay.
It can be very short.
Okay.
And, to correct any misinterpretation, and Mr. Snow's not here, our firm has nothing to do with the work. That goes to the insurance, the city's insurer, who does the claims, make sure the claims were valid, they didn't predate, or the damages, and that then they solve the problem or
Okay.
pay the claim.
Thank you.
Okay.
Move to accept
Any other
A3.
questions? Any other questions from
No, sir.
audience? All right.
Second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries, 5-0 vote. Move forward to item A4.
Good evening,
Yeah.
Mayor, Council.
Mike, I pulled that one, doesn't the county own Vets Park?
They do, but we have a long-term use agreement for Vets Field, the softball field that this money would go to, where we have to maintain it and pay for it.
Well, that's what I'm questioning is why, if we don't own the land, we pay to use the land, now we're gonna have to pay to fix it? I mean, it's like renting a car and having to buy tires for it.
It's a use agreement that goes back many years. Our staff has to go out and prep the fields. I believe we pay for the lights and everything else out there. But it is the field that the majority of our programming occurs at.
And it's actually two fields out there. We call it Vets Large and Vets Small. Those are the two fields that we.
Well, I agree that the fields are in terrible shape, but if the county owns it, the county should fix it, not the city.
According to the agreement the previous city council signed with the county, we have taken on that burden to maintain those fields.
Well, I'd like to bring that agreement back to the council and take a look at it.
Okay?
When is that? When is that one up? Yeah.
I've been looking at so many of them, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
It's got to be an old agreement.
It is. They're all very old agreements, and some of them are coming up in the next few to 5 years, but some of them are even longer. So, but we'll make sure that the council gets a copy of that use agreement.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Clower?
Is any of this $15,000 going to go toward the bathrooms?
No.
Okay, because that's been an issue for me for, I don't know, my entire life. The bathrooms are pretty disgusting. I don't know if that's part of our side of the joint use agreement or it's them, but either way, it's a sad state of affairs when people they come to our city from other places and they have to use those bathrooms. It'd probably be better if we just knocked them down and started again. That's not what we're talking about, but I think the point should be made. Another thing, I agree that the fields really need some work. I want to make sure that this doesn't happen again because I spent years maintaining infields. And if you do the same path every single time with the drag, you get that result where you're building up a berm. So if you drag that way, you have to pull everything back so that you don't have the buildup. And it doesn't take long to get the berm. And it's probably, 18 inches high now, maybe?
Yeah, it's
2
a ski
feet.
jump.
It's like a little hill. So we kind of have to combine the upgrade with some better maintenance as well.
Well, we have the recreation department's working on standards to maintain our fields. As soon as they get those done, my staff will implement those standards. Combined with that, I've implemented training for my staff so they don't do things like take the drag out in the grass, which drops all the dirt and makes the berm. So between the two, I think we're going to accomplish that.
And if you need some funds for better equipment, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with you guys coming back and ask for that because it's probably just a couple $100 to get the right rakes and the right drags and everything.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from council? Do we have any speaker cards?
No, sir.
I move that we approve A4.
There's a motion to approve, and there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, 5-0 vote. Move to A5.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. My concern would just be that all requirements have been met for this type of action for any agency that has special requirements for this kind of burial.
According to state law, ashes can be distributed on public property with the approval of the owners of the property, and that is you. You represent the owners, which is the public. So with this action tonight, that would satisfy that legal requirement, and then the plan is to distribute the ashes out near the runway and the aircraft operations area where there are no pedestrians or anybody that would be affected.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Any speaker cards?
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 5-0 vote. Move to item A9.
Yeah, so on A9, general procedure, we don't necessarily get the regular plans and specifications for the job, right? So when we did Sarah Vista, we didn't get to see exactly what was going to be done on the engineering side.
That's correct.
Okay. So my only concern, with a project like the Sarah Vista or even the San Benito Street, Nash Road intersection, it didn't even come to my mind that I might want to see the plans and specs. But for a project like this where there's been so much noise about it and what is it exactly going to look like, and I'm still just a touch I still don't really know exactly what it's going to look like. Because we've talked about it, we've seen other plans, but no one's ever actually said how wide the lanes are going to be, what's the distribution and all that. So I don't necessarily have a problem with passing this as it is, because I know that we want to get it done. But on the next time a project like this comes around that's as important as this one is, I think it'd be nice to kind of see exactly what those plans and specs are going to look like.
Sure, we can make that happen. You know, we did have a public meeting, and it was all laid out for everybody.
With the width of the lanes and everything? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, in fact, the plans are on the table out there for public review.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions from council? Any speaker cards? Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion and second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item C, public input. This portion of the agenda is where a member of the public may address the city council relating to any matter within the city council jurisdiction that is not on the agenda. If the subject relates to an agenda item, the speaker should address the city council at the time the item is considered. Oral comments are limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Speaker cards will be available at the council chambers and are to be completed and given to the city clerk prior to discussion. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and speak to the city council. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have speakers?
We have one speaker, Mr. Mayor. It's David Wester.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I wanted to show you guys something pretty cool. Last week I went to the International Association of Chiefs of Police training conference in Chicago, California for the purposes of receiving an award, a national award for our police department. Tonight I want to give you or show you that we won the National Law Enforcement Challenge for Traffic Safety 2015. And that's a pretty big deal. I don't think that our city, I know our police department has ever been recognized nationally for something like that, and I think that's a pretty big accomplishment by our staff. This was written by Lieutenant Olson and a volunteer named Jack Kochi. Did a great job. In about 2 weeks, we're going to receive more awards along the same lines. So it'll be the same two guys that did it as well. So good job, and I wanted to show the city of Hollister what your police department is doing. Been really good stuff.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Move to item D, City Manager's Report.
I have nothing to report at this time.
All right. Item E, there's no business. Item F1. At this point, I'm going to recuse myself from the conversation since I do own a property next door to that lot. I will pass the gavel to the Vice Mayor.
Good evening, council members. This resolution would authorize staff to release a request for proposal for the 400 block, which is at the southwest corner of 4th and San Benito Streets. A lot of people call it the grassy lot. Lately, it's been kind of brown. Maybe it'll green up soon with all the rain, we hope. And this is, as you recall, this property was acquired by our former redevelopment agency. We had to have a plan approved after redevelopment agencies were dissolved in California called a long-range property management plan for how we would dispose of the property. And what was approved was a first option for the city council, the property to transfer to the city of Hollister to be held for redevelopment for a catalyst project. Also with the caveat that we would allow the grassy lot to continue to be used for nonprofit events at no cost. We've been recently approached by 2 different parties inquiring about developing the 400 block property. So we explained that the protocol for that would be come to you for authorization to proceed with the request for proposal. And just for background, I think probably all of you know that the land was assembled after the Loma Prieta earthquake. There was 5 buildings that were catastrophically damaged. There was some that remained. As part of the recovery of the earthquake, the city and redevelopment agency received a grant to prepare a strategy and plan to help guide the recovery. And one of the keystones of that plan, there was quite a few objectives in it, but one of them was to assemble the property there on the 400 block to establish a larger development area for a catalyst project. So this has been a long way in the works. I think we're aware that we had a moratorium for a while that stalled any development there. Then we had the Great Recession when we were coming, and then as a part of that, redevelopment was abolished, and we had to jump through a lot of hoops before we could get to a point where we are today, where if the economic climate is right, we have the right project, then we can proceed with some type of development there. So are there any questions?
There's going to be a lot of questions, but I'm going to wait until after the public has a chance to speak.
Okay.
Do we have any speaker cards on that?
Yes, sir. There are 2 speaker cards. The first speaker is Marty Richmond.
Good evening, Marty Richmond from Hollister. Like everyone else, I have strong opinions on what should that development on a 400 block look like and what it should be. But tonight is not the night to talk about those because I haven't seen anybody's proposals and I have no idea what they are. But I would like to talk about the proposal process. I don't know what the plan is. I just want to make sure that if it's part of it to go out to the public, not just to the people who have something that brought in and said, let's have a proposal because I have something I want to put in. That's very good. But if we're going out to the public, I just want to ask that this proposal get the widest possible dissemination and that we get the most possible input from people who might have proposals or do have proposals, qualified people to do it, so that we have a large amount and a very variable amount to pick from when the proposals come in, whatever they are. I would be very. It would. I'm not rejecting anything out of here, believe me, but it would be disappointing to me if we only had 2 proposals. That was it, and we're saying either or nothing. And I just hate to be in that position. I think if we give this wide dissemination, adequate time for people to put together something, I'm hoping that we get a wide variety of proposals, one or 2 or 3 of which make the final cut and would be acceptable to the majority of the council. So I thank you for your time.
Any other speaker cards?
Yes, sir. The second speaker is Derek Del Curdo.
Hello, my name is Derek Del Curdo. Live at 1011 Santa Ana Valley Road. I'm one of the developers looking at the project, the 400 block project. We've done some similar projects. We have one under construction right now at the corner of 7th and East Street, 8,000 square foot project. And there's another one in the workings on San Benito Street, the building that burnt down. We have a 16,000 square foot project that's under construction now, just the grading. And we have a 3-story project plan for that corner 400 block piece, and we'd just like the opportunity to be able to submit a proposal. Any questions? All right. Thank you for your time.
No?
No more questions.
Are there questions from the city council? Go ahead, Artie.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a handful of questions and comments. First, I'd like to thank the Del Curdos because you guys are doing some pretty cool projects there. Some stuff that at least I've never seen in my lifetime. And just the project you have on East Street, it's kind of neat. It's different. I'm sure not everybody's going to love it, but it's cool to see something like that here in town. As far as questions about the specific 400 block lot, we reserve the right to not accept anything, correct? And okay, so that's good to know. I think the time frame, I love to see the government move quickly, but I think the time frame's a little tight. We're talking less than 60 days out from trying to close something without having a project in hand, so it seems kind of tight. I was surprised that we were looking to close escrow by the end of the year. It seems really quick. Another question I have is who exactly is on the selection team or the selection committee?
We could do it. We can do it a couple of different ways. Generally speaking, when we release an RFP on a sale of property, there's a couple of criteria that needs to be met, and the first one is usually to be able to pay what is considered market value. Staff will always bring to council all the proposals. For instance, we'll use the most recent one. For instance, the Walgreens project. We bring back to council all the proposals. It's ultimately your decision who to select. You don't necessarily have to take, quote unquote, the highest price. So if somebody came in and offered you $1 million, this is just hypothetical. If somebody came in and offered you $1 million to do for the property, but didn't really have a decent project, versus somebody who offered you $500,000 that had experience doing a project and came to you with a real detailed plan about the project, you absolutely have every right to go ahead and take the lesser of the amount, because it did meet at least what we would say is the baseline requirements of the proposal, and you can move forward. And I believe that it's important that the 5 council members are the ones that actually make that decision. There will be a staff recommendation from us on what that may look like, but you will be the selection committee. Generally in these things, I can appreciate what Marty Mr. Richmond is saying. We intend to get it out there to as many people as possible, from hotel developers to mixed-use developers to strictly commercial developers. We'll get it out to as many people as we can. But the reality is that you may only really be looking at 3 or 4 or 5 tops, probably realistic sort of proposals. So I don't think that's a burden to you folks. I don't expect us to have a separate subcommittee to narrow it down from 50 to 5. I think that you'll probably only end up with 5. So that's sort of what we envision as the selection process.
Okay. My next question is, with this project here, do we have an opportunity to utilize the public parking that's so close nearby?
Absolutely.
Because I think, I don't like to use the term waste necessarily, but I think we underutilize the Briggs Building garage, and the fact that half the time there's nothing in it.
There's an ability for a pedestrian bridge to be connected from that property to
allow for some overnight parking.
Yeah.
Okay, because as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to see something with mixed use in this specific property, and I'd like to see as many residential units in there as possible, whether they're condos or townhouses, or not going to be townhouses, but condos or apartments, because we have such a shortage of inventory on apartment units, and I think there's a great possibility there to get a lot of them in there. We have the parking there, And then we have these people who are now living downtown, and they're much more likely to spend their time and their money on the businesses that are already existing. That's a big thing for me. Mr. Richmond sent out an email to all of us about having some kind of plaza as being a part of that. I think that is necessary, because it's going to be kind of a hit to the community when we take this area that we've really utilized the last couple years for all the different programs and runs and National Night Out and all those really neat community events that we do. If that's completely gone, I think that's kind of a hit to us as a community. I think that it needs to be at least 3 stories. I wouldn't have an issue with it being 4 stories. I'm sure some people are going to say, hey, that's too tall, but I think the parking garage is 4 stories. And I'm a big proponent of density, so the more people that we can fit in there, and as long as we have the parking, I think the better. As far as the plaza goes, it looks like we can't necessarily build anything on Briggs Alley. Is that correct?
We would like to, the short answer is yes. I think we've talked to most of our folks down at the yard, and we have utilities that are running through Briggs Alley. There's a couple of things that we can do, but I think it's in our best interest to at least keep Briggs Alley open, the width of the alley, or the existing alley, 20 feet, and then I think it was 18 feet of clear space, just so that if they had to go in there with a backhoe or something, they could do some repairs if something broke. But most of the proposals that we've had in the past have spanned that. The hotel project and I think the Performing Arts Center, I think they all kind of had a component where they actually built above it, but the bottom floor of it, or at the ground level, it was available to.
Okay, because I think there's an opportunity there for some kind of plaza portion of the project being there, since we do.
Yeah, the hotel had their valet and kind of that area is part of that area. I think so.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Victor?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Friend. Yeah, just really quick, it's been a while since we've developed anything over there, but I remember we were doing some trenching, obviously with the new firehouse and all that stuff. Do we have anything to worry about when it comes to
that was
fault
cleared,
issues?
and that was one of the things outcomes of that strategy and plan that I mentioned from 1991. They did quite a bit of trenching in the downtown to help clear properties so they could be developed where they had damage from the earthquake, or there was some fires also. So that was cleared some time ago.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm interested in the issuance of this RFP, and interested in seeing what actually comes back into the community. So I'm supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mary. I had the opportunity to go back in time and realize what was there before the Loma Prieta earthquake. And I found it to be interesting that one of the business that was there still remains in this community. And I just feel that I think we need more businesses downtown. We really need to have something in place for the community as well. So, of course, I'm looking forward to seeing something there, but also I would very much like to give the opportunity to everyone in this community to know more about it and to come forward with plans so that, like Bill said, we would have to have the final decision here, but of course, we want to give everyone the opportunity. So that would be my concern.
If I can also say, I think one of the most important things, and Mary's hit on this a number of times in different conversations, but going all the way back to the redevelopment agency and the assembly of the land and whatnot, obviously this is one of, if not the biggest corner in town, and it absolutely has to be a catalyst type project. And as Councilman Clower said before, whatever proposals that you do receive through this process doesn't necessarily mean you have to go and make that sale. If it's not the right project, it just happens to be the best one out of 4 or 5 that you get, don't feel compelled to move forward. We can do this again at any other time. So
I have a couple comments, Mary. One, I'm glad to see it come back up. I've been involved with it for at least 20 years, and we've talked to several developers, and a couple of them had great ideas and fell through. My concern is the timetable that's laid out here. I understand wanting to close by December 31st, but we've been talking about this for 20 years, and I'm not going to jump into some decision in less than 60 days that says we're going to do something. So I understand the financial issues there, but they'll be there no matter when we approve it. The other is the estimate for the value, to think that the corner piece of downtown is only worth $390,000 is a joke. We got $900,000 for a piece of property out there on the bypass. There's no way that the most important corner in town is only worth $390,000. So when Billy jokes about $1 million, there better be $1 million or it's not going to go. That's just not going to happen. That's that important a piece of property. And I know you're going to get more when you open this up for ideas. You're going to, because we've heard them all before. So you're going to have people that want to develop it in different ways. Some people that just want to leave it a park. That they may have the donors to buy that property and just leave it like that is, as a park. So just that my biggest concern is the time frame that we're doing. The value is much more than our estimate is here, and
if it's the pleasure of the council, we can slow down the time frame for that.
Well, I don't have a problem with you sending it out, but I think having it done in 20 days, getting the proposals back might be a little short. I know there's some that are ready to go, and thank you for stepping up and doing that. And I know I've seen what you've done down here on East Street, and I like it. So I'm not saying no to anybody. I'm just saying we need to be careful, because like Marty said, we're gonna live with this for a long time. We've lived with the parking lot, the parking garage that nobody uses for a long time. And during the day, you'll see people going to college parked all along the street and come out here every 3 hours and move their car rather than put their car in the parking garage. I don't understand what's going on there. It's a great skateboarding park. But so I just don't want to rush into this. I think we need to do something there, but it's going to have to be something, like was said before, mixed use where it brings businesses downtown. I don't have a problem with residential use for part of it, or a hotel, whatever development comes out, but it's going to have to be something we really look at to make it worthwhile to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, just for a different angle on the value of the property, I don't have as much of an issue with the value that came up in the appraisal, because we've given away a lot more expensive property than this one. So to me, it's the value of whatever proposal comes forward is infinitely more important than whatever we sell it for, because we've seen that we're probably most likely going to give away a $6 million property and hopefully get something for it. So whether it's $390 or $90 or $90, if we get something good out of it in the end, I think that's a little bit more important.
Probably something you may recall also, that when the property sells, you'll have to divvy the pot with the taxing entities. That was part of that compensation agreement. So all the money won't go to the general fund. It'll be split the way it is with the redevelopment funds.
Okay. Like 11%. The other thing I would like to say too is that I think is important as far as the timing is concerned, and as Mary said, we can stretch the timing out a little bit, but one of the things I think it's important is for Councilman Friend, as you remember, as when it was owned by the redevelopment agency and we would go through this process, it was a little bit more dynamic because there had to be a fiscal analysis and stuff done, because we would most likely underwrite that land and by selling it less than market value, which was a whole nother process. This is pretty much, as Mary kind of explained, almost a straight sale. What the one caveat is that what we are going to make sure that everybody completely understands is the plaza issue. We don't want to sell it to somebody, and I'm sure nobody in this room would do this, but we don't want it to be sold to a private individual and have there be a fence put around it and it stays vacant for 5 or 10 years or until something comes along. What we've asked for, or what we will be asking for, is a memorandum of understanding or something that allows us to continue to use the property as it's being used right now until construction begins on a project. So that's another thing that we...
It will be interesting to see what comes out.
Yeah,
so.
it will be.
Would we be able to put some sort of restriction on it that says you start building and within the next 24 months, or it reverts back? And
yeah, I mean, there are ways to do that, and we try to have a performance standard in there because, again, we don't want to necessarily have that piece of property, which is fairly valuable to the city of Hollister, to go and end up in somebody's hands who doesn't have any real incentive to do anything with it other than just let it sit there. So,
because whatever projects we see now, I'd like to see now,
yeah,
and not necessarily have to sit on it for another 15 or 20 years.
Exactly.
Okay. No more questions? What is the pleasure of the council?
Move to accept resolution number 2015-211.
Second.
That's a motion to authorize the staff to issue a request for proposal. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
All right, let's move forward with item G1. Reports from city council members regarding their committees. Councilmember Luna?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. On Wednesday, October 28th, I attended the gang task force or prevention meeting. Believe it or not, we had a quorum. So it was a good meeting, and I believe that we're going to move forward on some of the tasks that were actually discussed, and I believe it was a very good meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Friend?
No, I had no committee meetings.
Thank you. Councilmember Gomez?
I didn't have any as well.
Councilmember Clower?
Me neither.
And I did not have any meetings myself. Let's move forward with item G2, informational reports from city council members. Councilmember Luna?
Yes. I attended the Leadership Student Conference at San Benito High School on Saturday, October 24th, and I want to thank the mayor for being there, for speaking to the students, encouraging them to stay in school. And I believe there was, immediately after, you were surrounded by students. So students, any time you give them the opportunity to show them support, I'm sure it is very much appreciated. And so we did have that conference. We had students there. We did have sponsors there and community leaders. So I'm just very glad that you were there. Thank you for being there.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Friend?
Yeah, I have a couple things. First of all, I want to apologize to some people that are in the audience expecting a resolution that was going to be on the agenda that didn't make it on the agenda, so we'll get it there next on the 15th. Secondly, on November 11th, the city is having, the veterans are putting on a parade downtown. Also, I believe there's a breakfast being held at the high school at 7 o'clock in the morning till 10? Noon. And then there's going to be a parade downtown about 1:30. There's a ceremony at 11 o'clock in front of the Veterans Memorial Building, and there will be lunch served at the building, and that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Gomez?
Another report.
Councilmember Clower?
Yeah, just one thing. I believe the Board of Supervisors are going to be having a hearing and possibly a vote about the Del Webb project out at San Juan Oaks. Obviously, it's not our jurisdiction, so I haven't read through their agenda packet or anything, but I think that'd be an interesting interesting open hearing to hear tomorrow, because that's such a unique and, in my eyes, promising subdivision that could be going out there. Because it's a senior community, I think it's 55 and over, there's going to be a lot of benefits of that without the impact that normal subdivisions bring in, that normal growth brings in, especially to the schools. So if you are interested in either being able to get a house in a community that's 55 and over, that's a good spot for you to go check out tomorrow. Or even if you're just interested in the amount of money that's going to come from that project and go to our local schools, it'd be neat for everybody to check that out. And I guess one other thing, library. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Councilmember Luna for all she did to put the leadership conference on at the high school. I think, Chief, you're going to have a lot of applicants coming your way real soon. A lot of good young people. And the speaker, former counselor at the high school,
Mr. Cafaro.
Very impressed by all his knowledge, and it was good to see our kids paying so much attention to his advice for a change, right?
Yeah.
So that's all I have. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. One is we are going to, we haven't done the West Gateway, sort of the entrance project that we had solicited our RFPs for. We haven't got the committee together to make the recommendation. There's some bereavement, and it's been difficult to get some folks together. So I want to apologize to those that are waiting for that, but we'll try to take care of that here shortly. For those folks, as we start to get into the rainy season, the yard has sand and sandbags at a few locations in town. One location is always out at the yard on South Street. The other location is at Fire Station number 2 on Union Road. And then the third location is out at the airport. Bags will be available 24 hours a day at Station 2, just because it's manned all the time. The other locations, they will most likely be there just during regular business hours. So if anybody needs sandbags, that's where you would go to get those. And then I had one other thing I forgot. I may ask to come back.
Okay. City Attorney?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief?
Nothing to report.
City Clerk?
No, sir.
I remember.
You do? Okay. We'll go back to you. It's all about you.
As the result of a study session that the council had a week or so ago, we have released the proposals or the request from local nonprofit agencies. We sent the letters out last Friday, so those folks should be getting a direct mailing, and it's also going to be on our website. And if anybody else wants any information, go ahead and have them call my office, and we'll try to get something out to them as soon as possible. So.
Those are supposed to be back by this Friday? Or
No, they're going to be back November 18th. I think it's Wednesday, November 18th at 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. H, I, J, and K, there is no business.
Move for adjournment.
The motion to adjourn, is there a second? Second. Motion is second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. 5-0 vote.
That was very disrespectful.